Hey friends, tonight I'm going to tell you a true crime story, gently, slowly, and in a way that will hopefully help you drift off into a deep, safe sleep. It's a story about a man who vanished in the woods, about a cabin, some strange coincidences, and a mystery that still lingers in the cold mountain air. So before you get too cozy, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. Also, I'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop your city and your local time in the comments. Now turn off the lights, turn on your fan for that perfect soft noise, and let's begin tonight's journey. You're standing at the edge of the tree line. It's early fall, and the air smells like wet leaves and smoke from some distant chimney. The sun's barely holding onto the sky, turning everything a dusty gold. You've just parked your car at a tiny turnout off Route 92, a road so narrow and winding, you're honestly amazed it's on Google Maps at all. There's a rusted sign half swallowed by moss that says, Summit Ridge Trail, 3 miles to the cabin, and below it, in smaller, more hand-scratched letters, be smart, be seen, don't go alone. You already regret coming here alone. The trail crunches under your boots as you walk. There's no one else around, just trees and the occasional snap of a twig that makes your heart tick a little faster. You pass a faded wooden post with a flaking U.S. Forest Service emblem, then a half-buried bench that looks like it was abandoned decades ago. You've read the story a dozen times. You've seen the old news clips. You know how it ends, or doesn't. But still, something about seeing this place makes the story feel more alive than you were ready for. It's the story of Jacob Ellison, 33 years old, vanished October 17th, 2013. He was last seen entering this very trail on a solo retreat to the cabin he rented every year. He'd texted a friend saying he arrived. But after that, nothing. No phone activity, no social media posts, no footprints past the ridge, and no body was ever found. Here's a little-known truth. That cabin wasn't listed on any mainstream rental site. It was part of a little-known program started by a now-defunct outdoor cooperative called Trail Rest. They rented out off-grid cabins for creative types, writers, and people looking to disconnect and recalibrate. Jacob had been there 3 times before, always the same time of year, always alone. He'd written 2 short horror novels that were loosely inspired by the surrounding forest. But what gave those stories an eerie twist was that many details, like the cabin's layout, the unmarked footpath behind it, even the carvings in the floorboards, were pulled directly from real life. You reach the clearing just as the sun dips below the hills. There it is, the cabin. It's smaller than you imagined. Just 1 story, sloping roof, wood blackened with age and weather. The windows are shuttered, no smoke or no sound. You step onto the creaky porch, and for a second, you feel like you shouldn't be here, not because it's dangerous, but because it feels like stepping into someone's memory, or maybe a ghost story that hasn't been told right yet. Jacob's car was found right here, parked exactly where yours is now, keys still in the ignition, and inside the cabin, nothing unusual. Food in the cupboards, backpack by the bed, Notebook on the desk, pages torn out, but no Jacob, no signs of a struggle, no footprints leading away. Here's a strange detail the official report never followed up on. In the kitchen, written faintly on the condensation of a window pane, were 3 words: "Don't trust mirrors." No one knows who wrote it, and no one even remembers seeing a mirror in the cabin. It's getting dark now, and you realize there's no cell signal. Typical. You feel the cold start to seep in through your jacket. It's time to go back. But before you do, you walk around the side of the cabin, and there it is, a barely visible footpath leading into the trees. One Jacob never mentioned in any of his journals, one not marked on any of the maps. This is where your heartbeat starts to race a little faster, because it's the only thing, after 10 years, that still hasn't been explored. And your flashlight just flickered. You hesitate. The little footpath is no more than a suggestion, just a gap between the trees where the ground looks slightly more trodden than the rest. But your feet move forward anyway. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's that same quiet recklessness that makes you read creepy Wikipedia pages at 2 a.m. You step in. The woods swallow you faster than you expect. Behind you, the cabin fades into shadow. The wind shifts, bringing with it a new smell. Not pine, not decay. Something metallic, maybe. You tell yourself it's just the soil. You don't believe it. You walk slowly, your flashlight sweeping side to side, your breath a cloud in the chilly air. About 20 feet in, you notice a peculiar sound, not the wind, not the usual rustling. It's rhythmic, like a knock, a slow, soft tapping that echoes through the trees. You stop. It stops. You wait. Then you hear a whisper of a branch snapping, just beyond your light's reach. Maybe it's time for our first strange historical detail of the night. This region, before it became a sleepy vacation zone, was once home to a Cold War surveillance station. Some of the cabins around here were repurposed bunkers, and there were rumors in the 70s that the military left monitoring equipment buried in the forest. Of course, that's probably nonsense. Probably. You keep walking. You count your steps like it matters. 35, 36. Then you see something odd. On the ground, half buried in leaves, is an old, weathered trail marker. A piece of wood, maybe once painted white, now mostly gray and peeling. Scratched into the surface, barely visible, is a word. Repeat. Okay, cool. That's not unsettling at all. You step over it, trying to ignore the way your skin feels, like it's tightening across your shoulders. Let's talk about what Jacob was writing before he vanished. According to a friend, his editor actually, Jacob was working on a book that was more personal, one that dug into his dreams. He called it The Mirror Tree. No one ever found the manuscript. But in a weird coincidence, there's a tree deep in this forest that the locals used to call the Mirror. It has a lightning-struck trunk, polished smooth on one side. The bark gleams like glass in the right light. Jacob had circled it in one of his hiking maps. Guess where this trail leads? You come to a spot where the path splits, left or right. There's no sign, no clue, just dark woods and your increasingly shaky nerves. Here's where I give you a little academic controversy to chew on while you decide. There's a debate among outdoor survival experts about the 180 rule that if you're lost, you should always go back the exact way you came. But others argue that in panic situations, the brain invents false memories of the trail, making going back just another form of getting more lost. Fun bedtime thought, right? You go left. Of course you do. Right just feels wrong. As you round a bend, you notice the air changing. It's cooler, still, and there's a smell that reminds you faintly of antiseptic or old hospitals. You spot something ahead, a clearing, and in the middle of it, yes, somehow, is another structure. Not a cabin, not a shed. You'd almost call it a shrine. Rocks arranged in a perfect circle. In the center, a wooden post with a mirror nailed to it, cracked right down the middle. It's facing the woods, not the clearing, almost like it's watching something out there. You edge closer. Your flashlight flickers again, then steadies. On the base of the post, in what looks like red paint, you tell yourself it's paint, are the words, "Only one reflection is real." Okay, great. You're officially done. You turn back the way you came. But the trail behind you, it's gone. The trees look different, closer. Your flashlight dies, and now you hear footsteps, but not yours. You freeze, you listen, but all you can hear is your own breath tightening and a single drop of sweat sliding down your neck, cold as melted ice. The footsteps, soft, deliberate, pause. Then they continue, closer. You whisper something to yourself, maybe a prayer, maybe just nope. You step backward into the dark, hand brushing against rough bark, heart pounding. The mirror is still behind you. You don't want to turn around and see if it's still cracked, or worse, if it's not. Let's pull back for a moment. Breathe. Because in the real-world investigation into Jacob Ellison's disappearance, this is where the timeline breaks. Search teams swept the woods around the cabin for 5 days. Dogs caught a weak scent heading north, but it vanished near a dry creek bed. The cabin, the trail, the car, all undisturbed. But one thing was found, 2 miles off the marked path. A camping spork engraved with Jacob's initials. That was it. No footprints, no scent, nothing else. Weird sidebar. One of the searchers later reported that his compass had spun in circles near the spot where they found the spork. A geologist blamed mineral interference, but no mineral survey has ever confirmed that theory. Back in the woods, your eyes adjust to the dark, and you notice something. Just past the shrine, a flicker of light, pale and pulsing, like a candle through frosted glass. You move toward it. You shouldn't, but you do, because in stories like this, no one ever makes the sensible choice. And let's be honest, you'd do the same. You walk 20, 30 steps through the trees until you reach another cabin. This one isn't like the first. It's smaller, older. The wood is gray, warped by years of weather. There's no door, just a sagging curtain of burlap. Light spills out from within, flickering, firelight, number. It's too cold for that color. It's more like static, a pale white glow humming just under your skin. You peek in. The room is empty, except for a table. On it, a single object, a spiral notebook, the same brand Jacobs always used. You flip it open. The pages are blank, except the last one. It's scrawled in tight, frantic handwriting. I saw myself, but it wasn't me. If you're reading this, it's already too late. The light in the room pulses once and then dies. You're left in silence, but not quite darkness. Because now your flashlight flicks back on by itself. You're starting to think this place isn't just haunted, it's aware. Which brings us to tonight's bizarre little historical footnote. In 1986, a pair of amateur cartographers mapping these woods for a hiking zine claimed they found a trail that looped back on itself geometrically, forming a perfect spiral. They published a crude sketch in their final issue. 2 months later, one of them disappeared during a solo trek in the same region. The other swore he'd heard voices from the trees calling his name before he fled and never returned. You can still find the issue online if you're into that kind of thing. You pocket the notebook. You step back into the woods, trying to retrace your steps. But the trees, they seem different now. Taller, twisted, and there's that smell again, metallic, sharp, but somehow sweet. You walk in a straight line, or at least you think you do. Then you stumble out of the trees, right into the clearing of the first cabin. You're back. The door creaks open. No one is there. But on the floor, right where you stepped an hour ago, are fresh footprints. Yours and one other set. You stare at the prints. 2 sets, one matching your boots down to the tread, and the other slightly larger. Barefoot, the toes pointed outward like someone had been waiting, watching. Your breath clouds the air. There's no sound except the whisper of leaves brushing against the roof. You step back onto the porch. The floor groans like it remembers you. The door, still open, swings just a little wider. Inviting? Maybe. Threatening? Definitely. You shine your flashlight inside again. Same setup. Table, cotangent, stove. Everything's still in place. But there's something new now. A mirror. You're absolutely certain it wasn't there before. Hung on the wall across from the door, it's a simple oval frame, chipped, black painted wood. The glass is cloudy, speckled with age, but it reflects just enough. You can see yourself, almost, because your reflection doesn't move when you do. It's subtle at first. You tilt your head left, it hesitates. You raise your hand, it doesn't. Then slowly, your reflection smiles, and you do not. You drop the flashlight. It rolls across the floor, casting wild arcs of shadow. You run, out the door, off the porch, back to the car, and that's when you realize your car is gone. No tracks, no broken branches, just empty space where it sat. It's at this point, standing alone in the dark, at the edge of a trail that no longer leads anywhere, that your brain does something amazing. It starts to rationalize. Maybe this is a dream. Maybe you're sleepwalking. Maybe you hit your head and none of this is real. You whisper your own name to hear something familiar. But the voice that answers back from the woods, it says your name too, in your voice. There's a flash of movement between the trees. A silhouette steps out. It looks exactly like you, but wrong. It tilts its head in the same way your reflection did. Then it turns and walks back toward the cabin without looking back. The next morning, a ranger named Seth Barnes finds your flashlight just off the trail. It's not wet. It's not cold. It's still warm, like it was just used. He calls for backup. They search for 3 days. They don't find you. But in the guest book of the cabin, one that had been blank for years, there's a new entry. Jacob Ellison, or October 17th, 2013. See you soon. The handwriting matches yours. Here's your final academic mind-bender of Act 1. Some folklorists believe the mirror double legend originated not in Europe, but in early Appalachian settler stories. They called them shadowkin, beings that copied your voice, your face, but not your soul. They weren't evil necessarily, just waiting for an opening. You never gave yours permission, but maybe you didn't need to. You're still out there, somewhere. At least that's what people like to believe when someone disappears without a trace. It's easier than the alternative. But tonight, you're going back to the beginning. You arrive in town just as the sun is rising. The little gas station is open, even though the lights flicker like they're trying to stay asleep. You buy a lukewarm coffee and a half-stale granola bar. The clerk eyes you like he's seen your face before, like he's not sure you're real. Heading up the mountain, he asks. You nod. He taps the counter twice, slowly. Just remember, mirrors lie. You laugh politely. That's a weird thing to say before 7 a.m. He doesn't smile back. You drive through winding switchbacks, past pine groves and dry creek beds, until the trees close in around you again. The GPS loses signal just before the trailhead. Of course. There's an old ranger station nearby, long since shuttered. Its windows are boarded, but one is open, just enough to peer through. Inside, papers are scattered across the floor. A coat still hangs on the back of a chair, and carved into the wall, just above the map of the forest, is something that stops your breath cold. I watched myself walk away. Let's pause for a historical truth bomb. Back in the 1940s, this region was the site of a short-lived CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, project. The young men stationed here were responsible for laying trails, building cabins, and documenting wildlife. But 3 of them went missing in the fall of 1941. The logbooks only mention them once, a brief note that reads, "Lost on patrol, found the next morning." But something was wrong with their eyes. The records end there, redacted or burned. No one's quite sure. You leave the station and step onto the trail. This time, you know exactly where to go. The air is colder today, thinner, The trees don't move, not in the wind, not in the breeze. It's as if they're waiting. You reach the first cabin by midday. Same sagging roof, same broken step. But there's no porch swing now. Was there ever one? Inside, it smells different, like ozone, the scent before a storm. The mirror is still there. You cover it with your jacket, and then you do something no one else has done. You walk out back, past the well, past the warped deck boards, and there it is again, that faint path, barely visible, the one Jacob must have found. This time, you come prepared. You drop breadcrumb markers every 20 paces. You record a voice memo every few minutes. You even have a second flashlight. Smart, right? Except the breadcrumbs disappear after the first bend. The voice memos corrupt within minutes, each one ending in static and the sound of your own voice whispering something you don't remember saying. You keep going. Half a mile in, you find something new. A campsite, not recent, maybe 5, 10 years old. There's a collapsed tent, a rusted coffee mug, and on a nearby tree, carved with a knife. I slept here, but he kept watching me. Academic side note: there's an entire branch of wilderness psychology that studies isolation-induced duality, a theory that extended solitude can create cognitive splits where the brain fabricates a second self for survival. Except in this forest, people report seeing their double before they go missing. Coincidence? Sure. Let's say that out loud. It feels good. You move deeper into the woods. Your second flashlight flickers, and then you hear it. That same tapping rhythm. 3 knocks, pause, 3 more, and then your voice calling your name from behind you. You spin around. There's no one there, just trees, still watching. You tell yourself it's a trick of the forest, sound bouncing strangely off trunks and shadows. You turn back to the path, but you hesitate, because now there are 2 paths, identical, equally worn, and you're certain there was only one before. You choose the left, or maybe the right. Does it even matter anymore? You walk until you can't hear anything but your own footsteps, and even that sounds wrong, like it's delayed, echoing back from a direction that doesn't match the terrain. You come across another marker, a mirror nailed to a tree. This one cracked and clouded, but different from the others, because this one reflects a different version of the forest, one where the trees are burned, the sky is dusk orange, and you aren't standing in front of it. Instead, there's someone else, wearing your clothes, smiling a little too widely, holding a knife. The reflection tilts its head, so you step away. The mirror fogs over. Let's take a breath here and casually slide in another strange historical side note. In 1979, a folklorist named Helen Dory collected accounts from local families about a copycat spirit that lived in the mountains. They called it the Other One. She described over a dozen cases where someone claimed to have seen a loved one twice in the same day, once at home and once deep in the woods. Each time, the person seen in the woods vanished within days. Her final journal entry ends with a chilling line. I saw myself coming down the hill today. I didn't wave. The entry was dated 3 days before she herself vanished on a research hike near Summit Ridge. Her body was never found, but her tape recorder was. It was playing back her own voice, whispering names, none of them hers. Back to you. You press forward, refusing to be turned around by shadows and creepy mirrors. And after maybe half a mile, you reach another clearing. There's something in the center. A wooden box nailed shut, weathered. You don't want to open it, but you do. Inside, a shirt, torn, faded red. Initials on the tag, J.E., and a photograph, black and white. A cabin, the cabin. But something is wrong. In the window, there's a figure. You bring the photo closer. It's your face, but the eyes are wrong. Too dark, too wide, too alert. Behind you, twigs snap. You turn, swinging your light wildly. Nothing. But when you look back down, the box is empty. Your backpack feels heavier. You open it. The photo is inside, even though you never put it there. And now, the woods have gone silent. No birds, no wind, no movement. That's when you realize you're being watched. You look around, nothing. But you feel it. That warm pressure, like someone's breath against your neck. Then, a soft knock. Directly behind you, you spin around and find yourself face to face with yourself. Same clothes, same hair, same trembling hands. But the other you is smiling. That same too wide smile. It raises its hand, and in your voice says, "We've been waiting." You back away, slowly, carefully, your hands shaking, your breath shallow. But the other you doesn't move, just stands there, smiling, like it's waiting for you to blink first. You turn and run. Branches whip across your arms. Roots grab at your boots. You don't care. You just run until your lungs burn and your legs wobble. And then you're back at the cabin. The first one, or maybe not. It looks the same, but the door is gone. The windows are mirrors now, every one of them. Each one reflecting something slightly different. In one, the cabin is on fire. In another, it's abandoned and rotting. In another, it's filled with people staring out at you. And in the last one, there's nothing. Just a black void where the inside should be. This is fine. Everything's fine. You definitely don't want to scream into the woods like a horror movie cliche. You move past it, your flashlight dead again. You don't even bother shaking it. Instead, you follow the sound. Not voices this time, not footsteps, a hum, software low, almost like singing. It rises and falls like breathing. And it's coming from below you. You kneel. There, beneath the dead leaves and moss, is a trapdoor. You hesitate naturally, but you open it, because of course you do. Below, a narrow staircase leading into darkness. The hum grows louder. You descend. The walls are dirt and stone. Your hands trail along roots and cold patches of moisture. At the bottom, the tunnel opens into a chamber. It's circular, carved by hand from the look of it. In the center, a mirror, of course, a large oval mirror in a wooden frame. But it's clean, polished, too new for this place. And around it, 6 chairs, each one occupied by someone. They don't move. You step closer and realize each person looks just like someone who vanished in these woods. Jacob Ellison, Helen Dory, the missing ranger from 1998, even the 300 boys from the 40s. Still, pale, as if preserved, and in the 7th chair, one is empty. Guess who it's for? A whisper curls around your ear. It says your name again. Software affectionate, almost grateful. You spin, but the tunnel is gone. Just dirt wall. You're sealed in. Okay, let's take a deep breath and casually toss in one last academic puzzle piece. A 2011 psychology paper speculated on the phenomenon of localized mirror trauma, cases where exposure to mirrored surfaces in certain environmental conditions may induce hallucinations, identity disturbance, and even memory erasure. The paper was withdrawn before publication. Its lead researcher now lives off-grid. No one knows why. You sit down, not in the 7th chair, on the ground. Your legs tremble too much to stand. The mirror pulses once dash, and then goes dark. All around you, the figures in the chairs blink. Together, they turn their heads, all at once, and smile. You don't scream, because the moment doesn't allow it. It's too quiet, too deep, and something inside you knows that noise would only make things worse. They're still smiling, all 6 of them, and as you sit there, frozen, you notice something else. They're breathing, barely, in unison, in and out, slow and steady, like they're asleep or waiting to wake up. You stand. The mirror flickers, once like a strobe, and then it shows you something. Not your reflection, not anymore. Instead, it shows a cabin, but not the one above. This one is newer, sterile, clean. Fluorescent lighting hums overhead. A figure in a white coat walks past, clipboard in hand, and lying on a bed hooked to wires and machines. You, eyes closed, mouth slack, monitors pulsing softly beside your head. A hospital, a lab. You touch the mirror's surface. It ripples like water, and the chamber vanishes. You're standing in the woods again. No cabin, no mirror. Just you. Or you think it's you. You check your pockets. Your phone is back. The flashlight works again. Too easy, right? You walk back to the trail. It's exactly where it should be. Signs, benches, the weathered U.S. Forest Service marker. A family is hiking up the path. 2 kids, laughing, a dad carrying a backpack. The dad waves. You wave back. And they keep walking, right past you, like you aren't there. You call out. They don't respond. You step in front of them. The little girl walks through you, and that's when it hits you. You didn't leave the mirror. It let you see what's outside, what you could have returned to, but you didn't step through. You stayed. You're still in the woods, still beneath, still watching. Let's wrap this with a final chilling footnote from local folklore. There's an old saying among the fire watchers who used to patrol this range before drones took over. They'd say, if you see your own smoke on the mountain, you've already burned. Some of them reported waking up at their outposts to find logs still warm from a fire they didn't light. Others claimed to hear their own voices on the radio, whispering weather reports that didn't exist. Almost every one of them eventually requested reassignment. None of them stayed longer than a season. You return to the cabin one last time. This time, you know the layout by heart. The mirror on the wall is covered again. You walk over. You pull the cover down. Your reflection stares back, calm, composed, familiar, but in the corner of the mirror, barely noticeable unless you really look. A single line is etched into the glass. Don't turn around. And of course, you do, but there's nothing there. Just the empty room and your own breathing, still slow, still steady, and still not yours. You wake up on the floor of the cabin. Or maybe you've always been here. It's morning now. At least the light suggests it might be. Pale beams filter through the dusty window slats, slicing across the room in quiet, deliberate lines. Everything smells like cedar and damp clothes. You sit up. Your limbs ache, not like you've run for miles, but like you've watched yourself run for miles. There's a difference. You reach for your phone, full battery, signal bars, no missed calls, no texts. The time is 6:33 a.m., October 18th. You blink. Wasn't it October 17th when you arrived? You scroll through your photos. There's a new one. It wasn't taken by you. It's a picture of the cabin, taken from the woods, through the trees, from far away. And in the window, you're asleep on the floor. The caption reads, "I found you." Okay, deep breath. You step outside. The sun is up. Birdsong returns. The wind moves the branches again. Everything looks normal, which at this point is the most suspicious thing of all. The trail looks just like it did before, crisp, familiar, like a well-worn route back to sanity. But you hesitate, because now you know the forest doesn't trap people. It offers something, a trade. Let's rewind just slightly for one final historical nugget. In 1902, a prospector named Edwin Stark wrote in his travel journal that he camped near the ridge under moonlight most queer, and that he felt myself split in two, one for home, one for here. He disappeared 2 days later. Locals later claimed the land was bad ground, not haunted, not cursed, just wrong, geologically, psychologically, metaphysically. Choose your poison. The U.S. Geological Survey mapped this zone in 1983 and labeled one section "Data inconclusive." That part of the map was smudged out in the final print. Guess where the cabin sits? Back in the present, you follow the trail. Your boots crunch. Your shadow stretches behind you. You walk for an hour. Then two, the trail never ends. You should have reached the road by now. Instead, the trees start to change, not gradually, abruptly. The trunks become warped, twisted as if they were grown under pressure. Some curl into spirals, others split into mirror images of themselves, two identical limbs branching from a single knot. Then you see a sign, same rusted metal, same peeling paint, but the text is different. Summit Ridge Trail, 3 miles to the cabin. You've returned, but you never turned around. You stare at the sign. You check your phone. Still 6:33 a.m. Still October 18th. Still full signal. But no matter which app you open, they all freeze on the same screen. Your own face, reflected in a black surface, blank expression, unblinking. You power it off. It doesn't turn off. You drop it into your pack and keep walking, because at this point, what else do you do? You try the same trick, breadcrumb markers, voice memos, even scratch marks on the trees. This time, they stay. You feel a glimmer of control, like maybe this is how you break the loop. Maybe this is how you leave. But as the hours pass, something starts to unravel. Your footsteps feel out of sync, like someone is walking a split second behind you, matching your pace just enough to stay unnoticed. You stop. The echo doesn't. You start to feel it again, not fear, familiarity, like you've walked this path before, like you've said these exact words in your head already. And then it hits you. Maybe you're not stuck in space. Maybe it's time that's looping. Back at the cabin, the guest book only had one name. Yours, dated a week ago. You never wrote it. You see another hiker ahead of you on the trail. At last. You shout. They stop. They turn. And the face is yours. Again. But this one looks wrong. Pale, hollow-eyed, like a corpse that just started smiling. You don't run this time. You walk toward it. It mirrors you, step for step, until you're 3 feet apart. Then you speak. I'm not afraid of you. It smiles wider. Good, it says. Then you're ready. You blink, and it's gone. No sound, no trace, just you. And suddenly the trail ends, not at the road, not at the parking lot, but at a clearing, one you haven't seen before. In the center, a tall stone monolith, carved with hundreds of names. Many are faded, but some are fresh. You step closer. There, etched in the middle, deep and sharp. Jacob Ellison, Helen Dory, Edwin Stark, your full name. You reach out, fingers brushing the stone. It's warm. Not just warm, alive. You feel something pulling, not your hand, your thoughts. And then you remember everything. The memories rush in like a flood, not dreams, not fragments, whole pieces. The drive up, the fog, the whispers in the trees. But more than that, you remember coming here before, not once, twice. The first time, you were looking for someone, a name that's now a blur, a brother, a friend, a version of you long forgotten. The second time, you weren't looking. You were returning. The forest never took you. You stayed. You remember sitting in the mirror chamber. You remember the whisper in your ear. You remember the trade. Your reflection had asked, "Are you tired of pretending to be just one version of yourself?" And you'd nodded, without hesitation, because deep down, you were always waiting to be found by the part of you that never fit, the part that watches, the part that knows. You step back from the monolith. Your name fades. The air shifts, and around the edge of the clearing, they begin to appear. Figures, dozens of them, all looking like you, some older, some younger, some smiling, others crying, but all you. They watch silently, and then, one by one, they step forward. They merge with you, not violently, not painfully, just finally, like puzzle pieces clicking into place. You fall to your knees. Your mind doesn't fracture, it expands. You understand now. The cabin is a threshold. The trail is a test. The mirror is not a trick. It's the truth. There was never just one version of you. There never could be. The ones who vanish here, they don't die. They wake up. You rise. You know this forest now. Every root, every shadow, every echo of yourself hiding beneath the bark. You are not lost. You are not alone. You are the keeper of the trail, the watcher of mirrors, the final version, the one who remembers. And now, as your last thought drifts like mist into the trees, you see a light on the trail, another traveler, just like you once were, curious, restless, tired of being one person. They're almost at the cabin. You smile, you turn toward the trees, and vanish. You're safe now. Wherever you are, bed, couch, a quiet corner of the night, know this. The forest has faded. The mirrors are covered. And the story is just a whisper in your mind. Let your body soften, your shoulders sink. Let your breath slow, longer on that exhale. You might still feel the chill of the trail or hear the hush of pine needles underfoot. But they're only memories now, and memories, like fog, drift away when the sun rises. You're no longer chasing echoes. You're no longer searching for someone lost, because you've found something even deeper: stillness. Stillness is the space where truth sleeps, where fears dissolve into mist, where names carved into stone begin to blur and then fade. Close your eyes gently. Imagine the warmth of a cabin just for you, one with no mirrors, just soft blankets, the crackle of safe firelight, and the scent of cedarwood in the air. You don't need to be more than one version of yourself tonight. Not a hero, not a seeker, just someone resting. Let the forest leave your thoughts now. Let every sound grow quiet, like snow falling on moss. Let every breath bring you closer to that deep, dreamless place where nothing needs to be solved. Because some stories aren't meant to end, they're meant to be slept through. So maybe someday we'll know the truth, but for now, sleep well.